Okay.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is for you. My name is Eva Marie Everson. I am the president of Word Weavers International. I'm also the director of Florida Christian Writers Conference, which just happened and was extremely successful. But enough about me. I'm here today with my good friend. I just love her so much, Bethany Turner. I tried to steal her heart, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. Not her heart, her heart.
No, plural hearts.
Yeah. So as I'm, yes, just little crystal hearts. But I want to tell you a little bit about Bethany. Let's go with the personal bit first. She's been married 20 years. She has two teenage boys. One is 18, one is 15. That's pretty nerve-wracking in itself. Yeah, we can talk about that more later. She lives in Southwest Colorado. In her previous life, she was in banking. She was actually a banking vice president or a bank vice president. And now she is in leadership at her church. And so that's actually her job. She's in staff within the leadership of her church. But she is also one of the best writers I have ever read. The first book I read of hers was The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck. And then that was followed up with Wooing Katie McCaffrey, followed by Hadley Beckett's Next Dish. Now, all three of those were with Revell. And of course, I've done some work with Revell too. We love them. Her latest book is titled Plot Twist. And I don't know if you've seen it online, but it's one of the most zaniest covers I've ever seen, Bethany. Oh my gosh. And that's with Thomas Nelson. And then she's got another one coming out in March of next year called The Do-Over. And so anyway, welcome, Bethany. I'm so
Thank you.
Here with us today. So exciting.
You.
Okay, now I found out something because I thought your first book was The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck. And you just informed me that no, you had written 3 books previous to that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. You self-published 3 novels.
I did. Back in that previous life we were talking about in the banking, I went through this incredibly stressful period where we merged with another bank twice within the time frame of a year. Mm-hmm. 2 different banks. These major mergers happened, and I was the vice president of operations. So basically, I was the point person on most of that. It was just an incredibly stressful time. And during that time is when I needed some sort of creative outlet. I had never written. I had never I'd never aspired to write, nothing. And I was a theater major in college, and I'd always done community theater and these different things. But with the schedule the way it was, I didn't have time for that anymore. So I just started, I had written some scripts and, worked on theater, screenplay sorts of stuff. And so I sat down and just started writing after everybody went to bed. At that point I had young children. And so everyone would go to bed, and that was just my creative outlet, and had no expectation of it going anywhere, or what I was even doing. I mean, it was this crazy story. These 3 books were actually this one giant saga that was like 300,000 words that I cut into three books. Yeah, it was intense. But it was just my late night creative outlet that I didn't know was bottling up and needed to get out. And but then I let a few close people read the story. And as the greatest people in your life are known to do, I got lots of great encouragement. And so, yeah, I put those out there. Like, I self-published. This was kind of the early days of like self-publishing on Kindle and all of that. So we're looking at 10 to 12 years ago, before I wasn't able to do it. I didn't attempt to do it in the brilliant way that so many people independently publish now.
Yes.
It was just, let's put these out there and we'll see what happens. Yeah. And I sold a few copies. I got some great reviews. It was just enough to spark something. And yes, but I kept writing from that point on.
So you wrote not Hadley Beckett's. You wrote The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck, which I loved, by the way. It was so good because it was about a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah, write what you know. And so you wrote that. Did you write it with a contract, or were you just like, okay, now let me just keep writing and see what happens? And then what did happen?
Yeah. Well, that was actually in one of the single most craziest times of my life because all that crazy banking stuff, I reached my breaking point. I was 30, how old was I? 34, 35 years old. And I was burned out. I was having a breakdown in my mid 30s. And I quit the banking job, had nothing, just had to walk away. And so
Okay.
I had this glorious summer with my kids where it's like, we didn't have money. We didn't know what was going to happen. I left behind a nice income, all these
Mhm.
things. And I just said, okay, I know I'm going to have to work. I know I can't stay home forever because we can't afford it. But I'm going to take this summer and try to just be and get to know my kids again, because that's how I felt. I'd just been
Right.
so out of it. And so that's what the summer became. And during that summer, I had this story idea and I just started sitting down to write from the first person point of view of this woman named Sarah Hollenbeck, who was going through this complete change in her life, having this basically breakdown of her own and trying to figure out what her life looked like as she went forward. And I wrote that story in 6 weeks.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
which I've never written anything anywhere close to that short of a time again.
Yes.
That's not the norm. But that story, like I was just in Sarah Hollenbeck's head and she was
Mhm.
making me laugh. We were making, she was entertaining me. Um, it was a powerful time of just this wonderful 6 weeks of writing this story. And so I had no contract, I had nothing, and um, didn't really even know what to do. But I reached the end of it and I knew it was something different. It was something that I felt very strongly needed. I felt that it had an audience, and
Mhm.
not in the marketing sort of, oh, this will sell sort of way, but I knew there were people who needed to read this story.
Right.
I just believed that. And so it was very much God and I are hashing this one out. What am I supposed to do? What's the journey for this?
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I actually submitted to I'm forgetting Writer's Edge. Writer's
Oh,
Edge.
yes, I did the
Yeah.
same thing, but long
Did
before
you?
you. Yeah.
Well,
Yes, yes.
so I submitted to Writer's Edge and they accepted me for their list.
Yep.
And 13 days later, I got an email from Ravel.
How about it?
And
And
that's
people
rest
ask
that's
me all the
history.
time, is Writer's Edge legit? And it is legit.
It is.
Yeah, definitely it
I
is.
mean, it's
Same
a
type
it's
of
a,
a
it's a
situation.
long shot, as all things are
Yeah.
long shots,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
but it is another possibility towards an open door.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I really do believe that the days of putting your manuscript in a manila envelope or your book proposal in a manila envelope and sending it off are over. I think those are
Yes.
over. But the Writer's Edge is one way. And then obviously writers conferences is another way.
Right.
You have to somehow get in with these people where they're and the Writer's Edge, because that is electronic, they're
Yep.
not mailing stuff out. I think back in my day they were still mailing stuff out, but it's all electronic now. It's
Yeah.
something that I think it's a lot like LinkedIn, when you're
Yeah.
looking for that person for the job and you just go to LinkedIn and you don't have to do all these interviews or put that notice out anymore. So yeah,
Yep.
that works. And I did
It
not
works.
know that was the avenue you had taken. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's talk about the elephant in the room. Because you and I have something in common, and I think this is what drew me to your work, and we started emailing. Right, as soon as I read your first novel, Sarah Hollenbeck, we started emailing about writing outside of the Christian box, because you and
Yeah.
we are Christians.
Yep.
We are Christian novelists, and we write for the Christian market, for the Christian publishers, etc. However, we want our work to take a broader stance. We want
Yeah.
outside of the church to come in and say, oh, wait a minute. It's like Jesus told stories. He didn't talk about a Christian farmer out in his field, and he didn't talk about a Christian man whose son left home. He just talked about people. And that's kind of like, that was our connection, was we just
Yes.
talked about people. So I say we write outside of the box.
Yes.
What's that been like for you? What are some of the pluses and then some of the not so pluses?
Oh boy, great
Yeah.
question. I have to say, first of all, I think the best thing that I can say about the early days of that journey for me were I didn't know I was writing outside a box because I didn't know that a box existed.
Exactly.
And so I did write the story that was true to my heart, true to my personality, true to what I see in the world, my viewpoint. And I am a Christian,
Mhm.
and everything is through that viewpoint. And I see it through that worldview, as they call it in the publishing industry.
Right.
But I wasn't trying to fit in any box. And I wasn't saying, oh, no, they're going to really push back against this, or,
Yeah.
oh, no, that's going to be a problem. Never occurred to me. And so once Ravel, took me on, and I have so much affection for the team I got to work with at Ravel, and it was very much a, let's take a chance. We know this is different. We know this is going to bother some people. And because, if anyone who hasn't read The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck, just a few of the basics. She writes steamy romance novels. She's recently divorced. She's attracted to her widowed pastor. And the key and the key thing that really caused a lot of pushback of not writing in the box was that she's very open about the attraction that she feels, and
Yeah.
there is no, I think she refers to it as a spiritual chastity belt. There
Right.
is none of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, temptation is real and all these things. So writing that perspective, because that's life. That's life.
It's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we're supposed to write real life, but forget about real life. We're not supposed to say, yes, there's an attraction. Yes. I'm just going to give an example. My latest novel, Dust, it's a young couple. They're in love. They're getting married. It's in the 1970s. They have passion for each other. Well, if you're in love and you're getting married, you better have passion for each other.
Better.
They choose to wait. That's their thing. We're waiting.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it was easy. I mean, it's like, okay, let's move up the date. It's like,
right.
You're going to get married in June. They end up getting married in December. Completely, like, we can't wait any longer,
Yeah.
That's reality.
Yeah.
Of course, I got some kickbacks on that, and I'm like, no, I mean, that is reality. But I also got a lot of, thank you for telling the truth.
Yeah. And it's the thank yous, you talk about what are the pros right there. There were so many people who did reach out, who said, this is my story. I mean, no, they weren't walking the exact path of Sarah Hollenbeck, but they were feeling those emotions and felt like they were never seen. They were never represented in a lot of stories. And, and I know you and I would both say nothing against the stories that do write a little more in the box.
No, it's fine.
There's a huge readership for those. There's people who need those stories, but there are people who need the stories outside the box. And so just being able to do that, it's been awesome. And I think being able to I use a lot of pop culture in my books, and for me that's kind of it's a modern touchstone, I guess you would say, of it is a little bit of a shift. It's another thing kind of outside the box of my characters, they're not only watching, I don't know, Touched by an Angel. That's all that came to mind of like,
right. No, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
And again, it's like, that's me.
Yeah, there are Christians out there who they stay in the box.
Yeah.
And honestly, they grew up in the box. They never went out of the box. Unfortunately, I grew up in the box, went out of the box, back into the box, so to speak, but that doesn't mean that I didn't have those experiences. And
Mhm.
I sometimes feel like it was the prodigal son who drew closer to the father than the son who stayed at home, right? And so,
Oh, yes.
so I when life has beaten you up a little bit,
Mhm.
and you've actually weathered some of those worldly storms, then your story is a little bit different. However, it's just as important. And so I think that there are writers for those Christians who have always lived in the box and been in the box, and that's
Yeah.
fine. And then there should be us. There should be those of us who say,
Yeah.
okay, let's get out of the box, let's get out of the church
Yeah.
and say, how can, because again, Jesus, when he walked and talked and taught and gave those parables, he was typically outside the
Yeah.
synagogue.
Yeah.
He was just talking
Absolutely.
to people. Yeah.
Mhm. And I think, I do think we do a huge disservice as Christians. We do a huge disservice to our faith when
Mhm.
we act as if it's all about walking the straight path and never veering from it.
Right.
The great miracle of the salvation that comes from Christ is that um, it is designed for humans who do not always walk the perfection of that path.
Right.
And so those stories need to be told too.
They do. And also that not everything is hunky dory and beautiful and perfect just because you are a Christian. And so just as I am a writer and you are a writer who happens to be a Christian or who happens to be Christians, I want characters who happen to be Christians, but they're living lives,
Right.
and they get tangled and they get messy.
Yes.
I wish for some of the lives that I've read about between the covers of the books, but I don't get
No.
didn't get that life. I did not.
No.
That would be so sweet, I think.
Right?
Not sure.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
yeah, maybe not. So tell me a little bit about Plot Twist, because I haven't read it yet. I've seen the cover, love the cover. It's so zany and fun. Tell us
Yeah.
just a little bit about that, and then tell us a little bit about the do-over. Because earlier when you were like, and the next book is the do-over or do-over. I think you just do-over. And I was
The
thinking
do-over.
rewriting one of her books. So
It's starting over on one of these.
starting over.
Yeah, okay. Well, Plot Twist is it's okay, so you've already heard the story of my writing journey a little bit. Plot Twist actually was written in between my self-published books and The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck.
How about it?
Yeah, not in its entirety, but I wrote most of that book during that time frame. And it was another I'm just having fun with it. It really had no intention of it ever going anywhere. And but as I later signed with an agent after Sarah Hollenbeck had already released, and in a conversation with my agent at the time of what else you got kind of conversation. It's like, oh, I have this one that I wrote, and she really wouldn't let that one go in the best possible way. I would have kind of dismissed it, but she was actually really supportive of that story and said this is going to find its time. And so the story is an aspiring screenwriter and a struggling actor meet in a coffee shop in LA and have this really great connection, platonic connection. It's not a love at first sight sort of thing, but they just really jive and get along well and find some solidarity in each other. And it's a really kind of brief thing. And then he has to rush off to an audition. And they say, okay, well, we're going to believe in each other's dreams, even when no one else does. And when we have a hard time believing in our own, let's meet back here in 10 years and we're going to make a movie together. You're going to write it. I'm going to be in it. We're going to be stars by then. Just kind of this
Yeah.
outlandish thing. Well, they neglect to get each other's names.
Oh dear.
And
This is
so
like
the
serendipity.
yeah, very much like serendipity in that regard, actually. So then the story is actually every chapter is that same day of the next for 10 years. So we get
Wow.
one day per year for 10 years as we see if this is actually something who this person may have been, and as she's kind of writing the story that she thinks is where she's heading. Is she kind of actually missing what's playing out all around her because she thinks she knows how this story ends? So so that's plot twist. And yeah, so Thomas Nelson
Read it.
wanted
Yeah.
that one. And I will say it's my first traditionally published that has zero faith content on the page.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's completely clean and appropriate and all
Sure.
those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't written to be a
It was
Christian
going to be
novel in
fun.
any way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun escape. And then the do-over, is, I'm actually really, really excited about. I'll just show that one. There's
Oh, you've got the cover. Yay. I love
that's our
it.
early copy
I
there.
love that.
Yeah, but we get to dive in with a basically a successful New York attorney walks into a meeting thinking she's about to be made senior partner.
Mhm.
And in fact, she's told that she's being put on suspended leave while they investigate her for embezzlement, which she did not do. And so basically everything she spent her entire life working towards is maybe taken away in a moment. And what does that look like when life hands you a do-over? Do you take advantage of it, or do you
Or do you fall
it's
apart?
like do you
Yeah.
fall apart,
Yeah.
or do you want to just say, nope, this is still the right path and I need to keep pursuing it? So yeah, so that's what's coming out in March.
Okay, so I have some final questions for you. The first one is going to be pretty easy. The last two might be a little more difficult.
Okay.
Prepare yourself. All right.
Okay.
What does your writing day look like?
Oh, if I have a writing day, it's pretty much it's an all day sort of thing. I work full time. So when I'm on deadline, I grab a little bit before work and a little bit after work. But the only way I've really been able to make it work with my life is I may only write 2 or 3 days a week, but that's all I'm doing.
Yeah. That's all you do.
Sunrise
Yeah.
to sunset. So those are usually my writing days.
Okay. So yeah, so you are one of those authors who is juggling a full-time job and your writing life as well. So yeah, totally understand and get that. Now, this one is a little more difficult. Like my friend Taryn says, or she's the vice president of Word Weavers, the co-director of Florida Christian Writers Conference. She says wars have been fought over this question. Families have been divided over this question. So do prepare yourself. Do you put pineapple on pizza or not?
This is so funny because last night we ordered pizza, and my husband's the one he had picked, came with pineapple on it when it was not supposed to have pineapple. And everyone in my house was pretty much disgusted by that. I don't have a problem with pineapple on pizza.
I love it.
It's not typically my top pick.
Right. Yeah.
But
it
sure.
Bad. Yeah.
It's not bad. I'll eat pineapple on pizza. Yeah. And there is a time when it just hits that sweet and savory and salty spot.
Kind of a thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So
exactly.
I'll go with the pineapple.
Okay. All right. So now this question, although your family almost got destroyed over it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? There's pineapple on the pizza. Now this one you may have to think about for a moment.
Okay.
Are you a sock shoe person or a sock shoe person?
I am sock shoe. And I know this because I've been you're asking very timely questions that I've been thinking about recently.
We did not rehearse this.
We did not. But I have a dog who sheds a lot. And so I was noticing I've morphed into the habit of I lift up my foot, I put on the sock and then the shoe so that I don't get dog fur on
your sock. Yeah.
So yeah, I am sock shoe.
Sock shoe. There you go. Okay. Cause I am sock shoe. So
okay.
I have no reason why. There is no dog shedding. That's just the way I do things.
Well, and I will say this, if I'm not putting on shoes, I'm not putting on socks. Like barefoot is the thing.
Yeah.
So there's, it might be different if I ever walked around just in socks, but that doesn't happen. I have no socks or shoes on at this very moment. It
Yeah.
just doesn't happen. So
Yeah. I get you. I get you. Okay. Well, Bethany, thank you so much for joining today. I forgot to say this is Eva Marie and the Experts. That's what this little tidbit is called. And you are an expert, and you are also my dear friend. And let me just say this, because I said I was going to talk about it and then I didn't. But so the story goes that Bethany and I were at a Christian readers event in the Washington, D.C. area. What was that? Was that like 2018?
I think it was 2017. I was
Maybe
thinking, but it was 18.
I don't know.
It was 18. I think
It was
right.
18. Okay. So
Mhm.
2018. Yeah, I think it had to have been. So it was 2018. And so they set us up at these little stations to sign our books. And I'm sitting right next to Bethany, and she's got this, cute little pink covered book, and then this cute little green colored book. And she has all these green and pink hearts that are like crystal hearts all over her table, all decorated. All I've got is books. So, if she ever looked away, I would snatch up a bunch of hearts and throw them on my table, because I wanted a cute table too. I just had books. I didn't have a tablecloth. I had nothing till I go, oh, look at my table. But there's Bethany with, look at my hearts.
Yeah, they just more and more kept missing. I'm like, where is it going? They're just
You have my hearts.
It's great. I love that.
I don't know how they got here. They just leapt from your table to mine.
I don't know. It was a rebellion.
It was like, here. Oh, look at poor Eva's table. Why don't we jump over?
She needs us. Let's go.
They blamed me. I don't know. I took the blame for them.
It's very kind of you.
Again, Bethany. And we're hoping, I can't wait to, I know that you are going to send your work in for the SALOS, because I see 2 SALA awards behind your shoulder.
Yeah. And there's one other up there.
Oh my gosh, there's a third one. Oh
yeah. I got to win the inaugural audiobook category, which was
you sure did last
so
year.
Exciting. So
yeah, you did.
So
that was awesome. I love calling your name from the stage. So thank you again. And okay, everyone, stay tuned for the next Eva Marie with the Experts. I wish I could tell you who it is. I don't remember. It's been a long day, but we'll talk about that at another time.